People kept telling me to like be the person I needed when I was little, but I think they're really sorry that they told me to do that because that's what I'm doing. It's really funny. Like this stuff with BPD and mental health in general. I mean, one question you need to be asking yourself when everybody's telling you you need to change is will they be able to understand how you need to change and is the changing for them or for you? Because it's been my experience since they don't understand the problem, their version of fixed is more broken for us. And when we subjugate our behavior to someone else, even when it's hard for that other person, we hurt even more. If it's hard for the other person can go away. Everybody has agency in their life. You don't have to be in anyone's life. You're not too much for anyone. If you're too much for someone, they don't have to be around. They're choosing to be there. So I don't know. This whole conversation around BPD has really bothered me. I mean, well, number one, I didn't know. I guess I didn't know it was so heavily genderized. I mean, I've always known I had it. I've not. I mean, I'm so old. Like, I was banned from talking to like family therapists. But I mean, it's like, think of this. Think of the type of anger that led my mother to beat a 7-year-old for wetting the bed after my dad left. So I'm already traumatized from my dad leaving. I wet the bed. I go to my mother, and she beats me. She's angry enough. That's the type of toxic anger that's floating around. That's her response. What's my what? So, do I have an inappropriate level of anger after that, especially after it's all criminalized and said that it's coming from nowhere, leading it to snowball and snowball, a narcissistic, sociopathic dad literally saying for 40 years, "Come back to me when you're not angry." That type of anger doesn't just go away. BPD says inappropriate. I don't think there's such a thing as inappropriate anger. I think there's misunderstood anger and misdirected anger. But if we have anger, that anger was given to us. It came from somewhere. And there's no strength in denying anger and saying, I can't be angry. If somebody makes us angry, we either give them the anger right back, or it stays inside of us and either eats us up or it comes out at somebody else and then we get fucked over it. So, you know, we are allowed to be angry. A lot of BPD healing is getting in touch with that anger and finding a safe space to express it so that it can dissipate. This is like deflating a fucking basketball. We're filled up. And my theory is that BPD, at least as it's written and at least as I understand it, only occurs in family systems where a child's authentic self is suppressed at every turn. And that all of this kind of conditioning of anger is some mix between the narcissist's subconscious conditioning, the BPD's conscious mind, and the child's attempts to get around the narcissist to actually have a life of their own, and how angry and frustrated that makes them to be screaming out the truth. You know, they say, oh, they're always bringing conversations around to themselves. Yes, when you have a narcissistic parent who is incapable of addressing the child's need, the child needs to always be bringing the conversation back with their parents around to them. Hey, I need this. Hey, I need that. Hey, these needs that everybody doesn't see, I actually have them. I'm not just a fucking character in your pictures. So then they go out in the world, and those communication rhythms are ingrained. That's called conditioning. It's simply a matter of changing the conversation. I mean, I am astounded. I mean, it's actually put me into a state of trauma having a video go viral about BPD, because it's put me back into the framing of my narcissistic family who I left, which was blaming everything on me. So thank you, because when I get traumatized, I love it, because that's when I heal. It doesn't happen all that often anymore, but when my body starts keeping that score and kicking my ass, when you're living in a state of CPTSD for 40 years, you don't lose that. There are things that will trigger me for the rest of my life. However, now all I am is this consciousness looking down on my body and looking down on my mind and watching it like I would watch myself wind up one of those birds and it just go around like this and going, holy shit. Thank you for surviving all this bullshit. I can't imagine a child lived like this. And I can't imagine a family let him. I can't imagine a family lets me be alone right now. But, I am, and I'm stronger than ever. And this is the thing. Like, we have a strong subconscious. Our conscious mind has been savaged by people who are broken in their subconscious and communicate in their shadow, and they have no idea what they're doing. But our subconscious has made us survive. That's what's kept us alive. The will to live. The will to fight. Revolution. That's what it is. When you grow up in a narcissistic family, it's somewhere between a cult and systemic racism. And to break out of it is the work of revolution. Internal revolution. I've studied global systems of oppression. I study revolutionaries. All that stuff. It's the same thing. Revolutionary fights with a smile, knowing that he's doing God's work. it's hard telling the truth, you know, like everybody's fucking lying for money these days. That's kind of the state of the world. Everybody's lying for money. Everybody's masking for money and then calling the people telling the truth mentally ill because we're not doing it with a smile on our face. I don't have the cognitive dissonance to look around at the world and pretend everything is fine. I don't have the cognitive dissonance to not read into what these therapists are telling us, what the DSM literature is saying, and connect all the dots that this is all a big fucking scam. And that people are suffering, but they're not helping.